I headed down the staircase. Each step creaked under my weight. The rattling noise from inside the room grew louder. Behind me, the man repeatedly begged us to stop looking around. I neared the landing and swept my flashlight across stacks of boxes. No one appeared in my line of sight. Across the room, there was another door. The noise was coming from there. I drew my weapon. I commanded whoever was inside to come out slowly with their hands up. Whoever was inside stopped moving. I shouted the same command a second time. The door remained shut. I crossed the room, sliding between boxes and old furniture that blocked the way. My sights were trained on the door. When I stood within several feet, I paused, listening. Whoever was inside also remained perfectly still. My anxiety ticked up with each second. So many things could go wrong in this situation. I moved to the side of the doorframe in case they were armed and tried to fire through the door. I reached for the knob, grabbed on, and twisted. Then I swung the door open. I was still hidden to the side of the frame. If anything besides empty hands emerged, I would have to use deadly force. After several agonizing moments, nothing came. I said a quick prayer, then aimed my weapon right into the room. What I saw, I can't go into detail on, but basically, this is what happened. A man in his mid-40s was being held captive in that basement. He was a father of 3 and a respected member of the community. Months after he went missing, everyone, including his family, assumed he was dead. After 2 years in captivity, he finally got the chance to escape. Earlier in the night, before we arrived, the homeowner brought the victim's dinner down and made the mistake of leaving his phone behind. The victim managed to activate Siri and call 911. When we arrived on scene, the victim had already been confined in a way that prevented him from calling upstairs or making any kind of substantial noise. Then, when I ordered him to come out, he froze in fear, not because he couldn't obey my command, but because he didn't want me to use lethal force, thinking that he was a threat. Once I opened the door and found him, we arrested the homeowner on the spot and took the victim to the hospital for immediate treatment. I feel incredibly lucky that no one was harmed and that we could reunite this man with his family. But the most disturbing detail, which has haunted me every day since, is how my dispatcher described the voice of the man who made the call. Why was he speaking like a child? The only explanation that makes sense is that this man was forced to speak in that young tone of voice for so long that even when he called the station, that's the only way he could communicate. And if he was forced to do that, what else, inside that house, was he forced to do? The case went to trial 6 months later. The evidence was overwhelming. The homeowner was convicted on multiple counts, including kidnapping, unlawful imprisonment, and aggravated assault. He received a life sentence without the possibility of parole. During the trial, more disturbing details emerged. The victim testified about the 2 years he spent in that basement, about the psychological torture, about being forced to act like a child, about the daily humiliation and abuse. The courtroom sat in stunned silence as he described his ordeal. The defense tried to argue mental illness, but the prosecution showed clear evidence of premeditation. The homeowner had reinforced the basement room specifically for captivity. He'd installed soundproofing. He'd set up cameras. This wasn't a spontaneous crime. This was planned. What haunted me most was the victim's testimony about losing his voice. He said that after months of being forced to speak in that high-pitched, childlike tone, his natural voice started to fade. His vocal cords adapted to the unnatural register. By the time he made that 911 call, even when he tried to speak normally, only that childlike voice came out. The psychologists called it a form of conditioning, a complete erasure of his adult identity. They said it would take years of therapy for him to recover his natural voice, if he ever could. I attended the sentencing hearing. The judge called it one of the most depraved cases she'd ever presided over. She noted that the homeowner showed no remorse, no empathy, nothing that suggested he understood the magnitude of what he'd done. As they led him out of the courtroom, the homeowner looked directly at me. His expression was blank, empty, like there was nothing behind his eyes at all. I think about that case often, about how close we came to not finding the victim in time, about what would have happened if the homeowner hadn't forgotten his phone that night, about the other missing persons cases in the area that were never solved. The victim and his family moved away after the trial, started fresh somewhere new. I hope they found peace. I hope he goes.